So far, all they've deported, there have been some collateral, non-criminals. They're focused exclusively on the worst criminals who have arrest warrants out, not just from our country, from the countries they fled. Some of them have committed crimes multiple times in our country. We haven't even gotten past that yet. Then we have Joy Reid, America's #1 bigot. Now that's saying something. There's a lot of bigots in America, especially on MSNBC, CNN, and the usual reprobate platforms. But she's the worst. Remember, MSNBC is owned by Comcast. To the extent you get off Comcast, get off Comcast. I mean, I know a lot of people don't have options, but we're going to spin them off. Well, I can't take it anymore. When? They just extended her contract. Now she got a lower pay because it's not exactly a great commercial endeavor over there at MSNBC, but nonetheless, she is what I call a hemorrhotic. Do you know what a hemorrhotic is? Do either of you know what a hemorrhotic is? It's a human hemorrhoid. I made it up. I like it. She's a hemorrhotic. That's what she is. In fact, she's so left-wing, she's a bleeding hemorrhotic. That's right, a bleeding heart, a.k.a. a bleeding hemorrhotic. Yes. All you other TV hosts and radio hosts, you can use that one too. All right, let's take a listen and you'll know what I mean. Go.
The Trump administration is making a show of its enforcement of mass deportations, literally.
So far, all they've deported, there have been some collateral, non-criminals. They're focused exclusively on the worst criminals who have arrest warrants out, not just from our country, from the countries they fled. Some of them have committed crimes multiple times in our country, and we haven't even gotten past that yet. And look how she's talking. Go ahead.
By conducting ICE raids across multiple Democratic-run cities with the cameras rolling.
Democratic-run cities. Gee, how many Republican-run cities are there? Number one. And number two, I'm totally confused because on CNN, Fake Tapper said all these people are picking lettuce. Now she's saying they're going to Democrat-run cities. I don't know. We grow lettuce in Democrat-run cities? No wonder I can't stand it. Go ahead. Actually, let me correct that. I like to be accurate. I like lettuce if I can put a lot of Thousand Island on it. Go.
It follows Trump's performative signing of more than 300 executive orders, at least 21 of which aim to overhaul.
Wait a minute. Didn't they say we couldn't do that? We needed bipartisan legislation, I say for the 4 billionth time. He's overhauling the immigration system with 21 executive orders, the way Biden unraveled, undermined, usurped the immigration system with 94 executive orders. Wow. So we didn't need bipartisan or bisexual immigration law. Notice that? No. We told Joe, you can just do this with an executive order. That's what you did before. No, we need bipartisan. We told Kamala Harris, nah, it's got to be bipartisan. And by the way, it was bipartisan. 6 Democrats would not vote to bring it up, but I've said it over and over, and it's water over the dam. Go ahead.
The reality show Government went so far as to tell federal agents in immigration raids to be camera ready and brought none other than TV host Dr. Phil along for the ride.
All right, what's wrong with telling them to be camera ready? They're saying you're on camera, so watch what you do. Be careful. Don't they tell her to be camera ready?
Which is interesting, given both the rise in MAGA immigration influencers they're seemingly endorsing and the fact that Dr. Phil has made a career out of exploiting vulnerable people for money.
I thought you did that, actually. I thought The View did that, actually. I thought the Democrat Party did that, actually. Dr. Phil's making a living. This is what he does. You want to talk about somebody who does that sort of thing. Think about Dan Abrams and his site Mediaite, a.k.a. Mediocreite. That's right. Dan is a phony. Number one, he glues that squirrel to the top of his head. He's got as much hair as I do, natural hair, but he does that. And number two, he pretends to be a very serious lawyer when he's the Jerry Springer of cable. Anyway, I thought I'd point that out as a footnote. Go ahead.
Also worth noting that despite all the televised drama, the actual number of people being deported has not yet exceeded the threshold of daily deportations.
Okay, so wait a minute. It's not exceeded the threshold of deportations under Biden. Now, how many ways can they have this? Oh, they're rounding up all these people and shipping. My God, it's horrendous. But he's not deporting as many as Biden. What are we to make of talk like this? Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Seriously. So it's Biden who's the racist. It's Biden who's Hitler. It's Biden who's overseeing the Third Reich. It's Biden who is rounding up non-criminal Migrants. Now, there's a trick to this, and I mentioned it a couple of weeks ago, maybe a couple of months ago. Let me just make it simple. You let 1 million people in, and you deport, let's say, 25,000. And let's say Donald Trump deports 20,000, but he's not letting 1 million people in. You say, well, he's deported more than anybody. He's also let in more than anybody else. That's what he's done. But they only did this near the end of his term. Tell me, how many people has he flown into the country? 500,000 people he's flown into the country. But he's flown people in, he's deported more than the other guy, but it's Donald Trump who's Hitler because he's rounding people up. These people are flailing around. They don't know how to react to this election. They are really crestfallen. You can see it on their faces. You can see they're not getting a good night's sleep. This is just driving them absolutely nuts, and they won't change course. They won't change course. She is an embarrassment. She has said so many contradictory, illogical things in the period of what, 3 or 4 minutes? Does she even know what she's writing down or what her ghostwriters are writing down for her to puke up? I don't know. Apparently not. Go ahead.
A fact the Mexican president stressed today. What is different is the way that the Trump administration is broadcasting, celebrating, and most notably, increasingly using military planes to remove people.
Okay, hold on. What planes are they supposed to use? Does the United States own a private airline? Am I missing something? Now, if they were to use private airlines, they would essentially have to use a law that says that the United States can effectively, at least on a temporary basis, take control of jet planes that don't belong to the United States. Now imagine what that would do to your travel plans, or the travel plans of people who fly. So they know this. They're just throwing every wrench they can think of into the wheel. Everything they can think of. Just say, using military jets, because that's what they own, military jets. That's what they have. And they're big, and you can move more people than before. And they don't give you any historical context. In the early 1950s, it was Dwight Eisenhower who deported 3 million people in 6 months, and he used the military. He used military aircraft. They used school buses. They used trains. And they didn't just put them over the border. They took them into the interior of Mexico. They went into schools. They went into restaurants. They went into communities. They rounded people up, and they pushed them out. And you know what Eisenhower called that? I didn't. He called it Operation Wetback. I didn't say it. From me, I'm giving you his. He said it. I don't like it. He said it. Cesar Chavez used that word too, because here he was trying to unionize American citizen Latinos in the Farm Workers Union, and he said all these illegals coming across the border, he called them greenbacks. I have the audio. Greenbacks and wetbacks. That's what he called them, because he despised them, because they weren't American citizens and they were destroying the wage growth he was trying to create for American citizen Latinos in the Farm Workers Union. And it wasn't just him. It was Ralph Abernathy, who was Martin Luther King's right-hand man and became the top dog over there at the Southern Christian Leadership Conference after King was horribly assassinated. And so you have all this going on, but back then it wasn't racist. You had Eisenhower, Cesar Chavez. Cesar Chavez actually put together a little army of Farm Workers Union members and would send them to the border to try and capture the illegal aliens coming across the border. Did you know that? No, you didn't know that. I can tell you that. So now we're using military aircraft. They militarized the whole situation. No, that's because what we have, and they're very effective, and we have the pilots, we have the whole infrastructure, we have the airports. That's why we're using military aircraft. Go ahead.
Make no mistake, the military facilitating immigration enforcement are the pictures they want us, and especially Fox viewers, to see.
Pretty sickening if you ask me.
For all this and much more, sign up for Levin TV.